Hello, my name is Scott Jacobson. I am an independent foreign reporter from Canada based in Kyiv, Ukraine, during the Russian invasion. I am the moderator today on the question, what are the key concerns for African journalists now? This is the inaugural of a monthly international panel series of discussions with distinguished international journalists. It is hosted by the Intercontinental Connection of Journalists, the ICJ, which is a global media platform connecting journalists, editors, and media workers across borders. Founded in 2026 under ICJ Global Media Group LLC by Sasha Drobievich, ICJ promotes press freedom, independent reporting, professional recognition, training, collaboration, human rights reporting, and journalism without borders through worldwide networks. Our guests today are Ange. She is a Cameroonian communication specialist and journalist focused on sustainable development, climate change, gender data, and environmental reporting. She directs SAT Magazine, serves with Tribune Verte, and Young Volunteers for Environment Cameroon, and holds ESSTIC training in climate change communication with experience in public relations and storytelling. Kingsley is a Cameroonian bilingual multimedia journalist, investigative reporter, video producer, and public speaker. He has worked with Deutsche Welle, HEMISPHERE Africa, producing reports for Canal Plus, TF1, Arte, and the 77%. Fluent in English and French, he specializes in broadcast storytelling, anchoring, editing, and public speaking. So the opening question, we can make a general first. What are the key problems African journalists need solved now?
Well, right now, Africans have a lot of problems they will need to solve, okay? Because as you know very well, Africa is still at the level of transformation when it comes to economy and technology as well. And many advances that are being noticed right now in the Western world and different parts of the globe are still to be should I say, dream come true when it comes to the African citizenry and journalism practice. But first, I think we Africa has a major problem of internet connection. Yeah, internet connection because right now we're living in a globalized world and working as a journalist demands a lot of online presence and a lot of data consumption. And usually the width band of many telecom services in Africa are not, should I say, the best. Of course, we have certain providers who are very much advanced, but it's not always stable. There's this fluctuation that comes and makes the work a little bit slow and disrupts the work sometimes when we have to deliver. For example, producing a live production from beginning to end, it's usually difficult. It's usually difficult for many media productions. Also, now, I want to talk about the financial aspects. I'm sure Ansh is going to chip in her ideas on that, but I want to talk about the financial aspect. You see, in Africa, we don't have, I'm talking as a whole here, we don't have too many private media institutions that can, boast of having all the need when it comes to the necessary production equipment, when it comes to the necessary facilities that could help them to really produce high quality standard, should I say, documentaries or TV programs. For example, I speak a lot about TV because I'm really specialized in TV production and multimedia journalism. So this has made it such a way that the few people or the few media outlets that could be, should I say, well equipped are most of them governmental. And with the governmental institution comes the control, which does not allow for free journalism and free expression the way certain people would like to express themselves and take on certain stories, especially when they are investigative and in nature and demand certain stories or ideas to be debunked or uncovered. So these financial impediment makes it that sometimes we're limited when it comes to production and we cannot always give the best of ourselves, not because we are not above it. Now, remind you, of course, you remember the NUICO, the New World Order, information and communication debate that took place in the 1970s and the 1990s, wherein many African journalists complain that the narrative that is always put out there by the Western media when they come to report about Africa is always negative. Okay, what do they say when they come to Africa? They always talk about the poor sides of Africa. They talk about the kids who are dying of kwashiorkor. They talk about the people who are in lack of, basic necessities, and that's all they put out there. And now the claim, I think that narrative is still running to today. Many people still complain about that. Like most Western world, when they come to produce the documentary, they don't want to talk about the positive aspects of Africa. This has been going on for many years is because Africa is unable as it stands to tell its own narrative by itself. Why? Because it does not have the means. Okay, we have trained journalists, we have people who are professionals who can go out there and show Africa to the world. You saw a couple of months ago when the American influencer came to Africa touring before the World Cup. What's the guy's name again? The young guy who came from America. I mean, his
Speed.
name Speed. I show speed. I show speed. Thank you very
I
much.
show speed.
Yeah, I show speed. I mean, we saw many Africans. Yeah, many Black Americans and other
Black
people. Yeah, in other parts of the world who were just like crying and saying, "Well, I never knew Africa was all about this." Why? Because but Africa has a media sector, and the media sector has been in Africa for decades. Why is it that people were surprised? Like, I didn't know this part of Africa. I haven't seen this. Whereas documentaries uncountable have been produced in Africa by household names. I don't want to mention them, but you know them, household names. So Africa has its own narrative, but it's unable to relate that right now because of the financial constraints, like I said, and sometimes the political agenda that's stopping certain journalists from going out there. But I think majorly it begins with that financial part. So I think apart from the many problems that the Africans face when it comes to the media sector, this is one of them: the lack of financial independence and the ability to produce their own stuff by themselves.
While concerning my field sector, journalism and environmental crisis, while we face very severe intersecting threats, physical danger, legal harassment, even digital repression, resource constraint, and gender-specific risks. So there are so many issues when it comes to report on environment crisis because most of the people are interested in advertisement, politics, sports, things, stuff like that. But when it comes to environment, the powerful actors, I mean, corporations, governments, elites, you are not really free to report because you will face pressures that will intensify even during some climate disasters. So people think, especially corporations, they seek to control the narrative. So the response for a journalist will require very strong strategies. Even when you are working with NGOs, you have some time to not sign your paper. So you will just say that this NGO says this because you are afraid of even institutional repressions and stuff like that. Added to what Kingsley just said, this is what we are facing, especially.
There are some more specific questions with regards to not only the specific strategies sort of alluded to, how should African journalists continue reporting on environmental crises? So more targeted recommendations with regards to the strategies you're referencing on.
I didn't get you very well. What do you really mean by strategies?
Yes, so for the ways that environmental journalists report on the environment with the risks, how
Yes.
should they strategize? What is the strategy? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, what I can say is just to center their narratives in the data-driven. So just state what the data are saying. Reports that are available by some United Nations agencies that are present on the field. They are providing many data-driven and also grounded stories. When you let people speak about what they are facing, that is another strategy to show a journalist not to show himself, but let the people speak. It's not coming from it's not coming from my thought. It's coming from the person, the community. So it's really important to go on the field and get out of comfort zone sometimes because going sometime in some villages is risky and even the transport are not easy always. By seeking the data-driven, you highlight both challenges and local solutions because the data cannot lie. The data cannot lie, and it shows the solution coming from those people, what they think should be done, and then you just report on what the people are talking about. Also, it helps the data-driven helps prioritize transparency and a strong collaboration between scientists, and the civil societies. That is my really first and the strategy that I'm using the most. So, I mean, data-driven solution.
Okay, maybe I'd like to equally chip in on that. Now, Scott is equally asking how can journalists keep reporting on environmental issues in a very safe manner? Added to what Ansh has just said, I think I highly recommend journalists to create international partnerships with different organizations. Now, I'm sure Ansh is very much aware of these guys, Monga Bay, who are really specialized in environmental journalism. I mean, they are like a reference name when it comes to environmental journalism in Africa.
Actually,
Yeah, they are in Cameroon, they're in the DRC, they're almost everywhere. And every year, almost, they organize trainings for African journalists and even for those who initially were not into environmental reporting, and they kind of train them for a period of time and engage some of them, and others become freelancers. And this is very good because when you go on the field reporting on certain sensitive issues like that, and you have the backing of household names and certain should I say organizations that are recognized worldwide, you kind of covered having either their badge or just their card. It gives you some kind of coverage, and I'd even say some kind of boldness, because reporting is always difficult, especially in African territories when it concerns certain issues. For example, you're reporting on environmental issues and you go talking about illegal timber exploitation, for example, in some part of Cameroon, especially in the east where it happens a lot. Many people don't want to talk because it's a serious matter. You have people's lands which have been seized by certain foreign companies. Yeah, you have people's lands. And people, sometimes people are afraid of reprisals. They don't want to talk. And when they have the confidence that you are not just some kind of random journalist, or you are not just some kind of freelancer doing your own stuff on a personal level, they want to open up, they want to talk because they feel you could make their voice heard to the powers that be. So I highly recommend that. Of course, it's not always easy for journalists to get there, but it's one of the strategies. Also, there is apart from working like in close contact with these guys, like working under them, there's the ability to go for grants and pitching. Now, I know a couple of journalists who have gotten there. It's not always easy, but it's easy. It's a way to make your voice heard. Pitch out your story to certain companies or to certain media outlets that are interested in that kind of story, and obtain grants from them and work on their should I say their tutorship. So that would help a lot, give more credibility to the voices that are reporting on such issues, and will equally boost their confidence. One last suggestion, apart from what Anne said, because Anne mentioned the fact that it's good to go out there to the field, is very good. It's very important. It's very important. Go out there to the field by yourself. There's a lot of desk reporting nowadays, especially for those who are in the press. Like, it's easy for me. Okay, right now I'm seated in my room. I can craft a story with my computer. I can really craft the story, and I can just go online and read one or two links, and say one or two things. But going out there to the field by yourself, meeting people, interviewing them, observing, gathering information, the way journalism is supposed to be practiced, or at least the way it was practiced before the era of the social media came, gives a certain credibility to your work, and it makes it valid. Because if you ever come in contact with a legal case, like, I don't know, a case of defamation or a case of misinformation, like sometimes they might accuse you either misinformation or disinformation, having these sources that are real and that are verifiable is a backing for you. So I think it's I want to go with what Ansha said. It's important for journalists to do that. It's true right now. I'll still come back to the financial issues. It's not always easy for a journalist to do everything by themselves. If you're a freelance journalist, I've worked as a freelance journalist in Cameroon, and I know what it is. Sometimes you have to rent equipment. Sometimes, if you don't have your own equipment, of course, and you don't have the basic equipment, because right now you can really make up with basic equipment. But if you don't know how to use basic equipment like a mobile phone and all of that, it becomes a little bit complicated. When you have to travel as well, you need a fixer. Sometimes you need a translator, all of that. If no one is backing you, if you are, and that story has not been pitched to a media that's covering all the expenses, it becomes a little bit difficult. So yeah, those are some of the challenges that one can have. But still, it's good to go out there to the field to meet people, and
If I can add something. it just reminds me of my late experience with the gold sector, the gold mining sector. I had to travel very, very far from where I live, and I had the support of an local NGO, the Center for Environment and Development. So the travel expenses was taken in charge by themselves, and I even used their car and their sources because even the minister couldn't reach that place, but I did with that organization. And that's the reason why I had so facts, the facts from the feed that were really that was real. And that's the reason why my story touched the continent, that investigation. So it's because of that support that I did all of this. So according to what Kingsley said, it's a very challenges to have financial, not only financial issues, but also the support of an organizations that used to work with those communities. Because if they didn't build those years of trust with those communities, I couldn't have touched them. So that's the reason why it's not only financial issues, but work with a local organization that have a strong foundation in some local communities.
Yeah, definitely.
Is discussed everywhere, at least online. How should African newsrooms respond to AI assistance and AI in general, particularly when covering environmental crises, for instance?
Okay, maybe Ansh, you want to take on that first, or do I go?
Well, I want you to go first, and we are generally. I
Yeah.
want you to go first, and I will come in my specialization after.
Okay. So now AI actually is a good stuff, but I think there's a lot of problems with AI. There's so many problems coming up with AI. We have that discussion right now, like almost every day. Presently in St. Petersburg, where I school, and I don't think we spend a month without talking about that because I have the impression. Before I get even into journalism, I have the impression AI is making everybody dumb. Like AI is making many people dumb. Okay, AI is making many people dumb. Back in those days, we used to do this, like you see, writing on papers and all of that. Today is almost gone. We don't see that anymore. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't flow with the technological advancements of our time, but let me give you an example. For example, you see, two or 3 months ago, we were in school, and one of our lecturers, she's from China, she gave us a simple exercise. She asked us to write a tweet, a tweet of 180 words. I mean, 180 words. That's just like a paragraph, very short paragraph for an event. It was just an exercise. And she said, do not use AI. But you know what? Almost everybody use AI. I mean, even the most quote unquote brilliant students in class, they had to use AI. And I was just so shocked because this was just 180 words. It was not even up to half a page, a Word document page. So it shows at what level people have become so dependent on this stuff that saying that, I don't mean I don't use AI. Of course I do, but I'm saying AI is making people dumb because many people can't think no more by themselves, and so they have to just transfer whatever they want to do to AI. And that's the challenge that comes with AI in the field of journalism. Right now, I'll give you another example. That one was mine when I was working in one media outlet in Cameroon. I wouldn't mention the name. I was preparing for an interview, and I was asked, to by my editors and those above me to, prepare for the interview, give my interview protocol and all my questions and stuff. And I did that after carrying out my research and all of that. When I submitted my protocol, now, of course, we have some editors who always want to make you think that you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So they'll always want to correct everything you do or modify whatever you give. That editor took my questions and submitted them to an AI and gave back the questions to me. Now, when I read the questions, I could see these were my ideas because I typed them out. They were my ideas. AI just kind of modified them, but I could see my ideas there. And he wanted to make me feel that the protocol or the interview protocol he had given to me was the right one, but I knew this was AI. And he told me try to master them and be yourself. I said being myself simply means I should go back to my original script. And you know that the editor was just mad at me because of that. How to use AI in a responsible manner. I think The first thing, AI should not replace a journalist's brain. Journalists are writers, naturally. A journalist is able to write, a journalist is able to think by themselves. AI could be used in to help polish, for example, your language. For some people use Grammarly. Some people use Grammarly maybe after they have written their script to submit to an AI. But again, I think every journalist has their style. Ange will bear with me, will understand with me. I think she agrees with me on this point, especially for one who does a lot of writing. I love writing, okay? So you'll notice that some people back in Cameroon, they say, j'aime son style, j'aime son style. I love his style. I love the way he writes. Why? It's his personality. There's certain journalists when once you start reading the script, you know this is Kingsley, you know this is Ange, you know this is Scott. Just by the first paragraph, you know this is them. When you give your scripts to AI, what happens is that everything is generalized. AI is generic, okay? The text will look polished, no mistakes, no errors, good, fluid, but there is no personality in it. No personality, no spirit, and no intuition in it. That's the problem with AI. So I think AI is killing the styles of people. It's killing the styles of people. And well, especially for those who are into writing, if you want to maintain your style and to really keep yourself to, should I say, that standard where people can look up to you and say, I want to write like this person, I want to speak like this person, you have to be careful when it comes to AI. Another method of using way I recommend people to use AI is, let me talk about TV production. In TV production, we have these, information checking after you've gotten your footage, your raw footage, and you come back, especially for one like me who loves long productions, documentaries. You have to watch videos for about 15 minutes. Sometimes a single video is an hour, and you need just a few seconds of what someone said. Now you have AI websites or apps that can help you do that stuff. Okay, they can, what we call in French déruchage. That's good. I mean, that's a good way to use AI. Okay, you submit those footages to AI, and AI is going to transcribe them with the time codes, and so you don't have to sit down to watch all of that and see how to cut them out. That's pretty good. You can use AI for that. You can equally use AI for video synchronization. We have apps like Plural Eyes, very good. you know and at the end of the day, you can sit down and focus on writing your script, getting the time code and placing them and giving them to your editor if you're not doing the editing by yourself. And I think this can help you to gain more time. One last point before I let Ange speak. Using AI now, people can do this. You write your script by yourself. Do not ask AI to write the script, but submit the script to AI and ask, what do you think about this script? Give it the context. This script is about this story on this and this and this, and I would like to know if my script is. The AI can give you suggestions as a journalist. Seriously, I really do not recommend journalists writing their scripts with AI. You can do everything when it comes to journalism. Write your script by yourself. You can submit it for like, what do you think, but do not ask AI to write a script that you are going to read or publish by AI.
Okay. Thank you, Kingsley. Scott, can I go on?
Please go right ahead, and then we'll go to maybe time for one or two questions after that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, totally, completely with Kingsley when he's talking about the fact that AI is making people dumb. I was combating that several times, but we have to agree that AI can be also a solution, especially for modern journalism. As he stated, it can help you translate, it can help you do straight analysis, but also help you provide fastly some database. So most of the time, if you have to read the whole report of something like 2,000 words, it's not easy. I mean, 200 words or more. But the AI will help you pick up the information that you really need. Besides, Tribune Vet addresses many issues about AI because AI pollutes through massive energy, water use in data centers, model training, but it can be a solution for journalists. If you want to build a really fastly data-driven solution like making data visualizations, you have some AI solutions that can provide you something in 5 minutes. Something like I used to spend my whole day to do with something like Flourish or other one that I used to do. I use them for my data visualization, but actually with something like Nano Banana AI, I can build my data visualization faster. So it is cool sometimes. But regarding the narrative, the way you have to build your story in order to touch people, to make a sensitization, sensibilisation. Sorry, I'm a native French speaker. If you want, if you
French and
want to do
Canadian in Canada too.
but if you want to do if you want to touch people, you have to write the story so that people can be touched. And this AI is a machine. AI is not a human. It's a robot. It's automatic. You write story, but they will not touch people. They will not touch the people. So you can use AI to go straight to the point by maybe getting faster some percentage, getting faster the analysis of some report. But when it comes to write down, just write what you have seen, what you have heard. And as a data-driven reporter, you cannot let the AI do your work. You have to do your work by yourself. But it's not so we can say that AI is not only bad, it can be used a good in a good for a good reason. So for good reason, sorry. Also, today journalism is not just traditional like TV, radio, print. Today we have podcasts, we have social medias, we have several platforms that journalists can use, and you can have the support of AI to use those assistants to use those platforms in journalism. So you can be your own, I mean, you can build your own story as a journalist, but use AI just as another skills, but not just to replace yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, both. And I think it's a very, well, you both have given very nuanced views because AI, it's not the boogeyman. It's not something out there. It's something that can be used, but should be used in a strategic, ethical way. And so I really like the answers that you gave. We have about 5 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask them or type them. If you're shy, I can ask them for you. And then we'll out after. And thank you, Joan, Agnes, Chama, Nina, and Matanga, Mary, Mamba, Angela, Martha, and Annie for joining us today, in addition to our great and full session.
So
Sasha,
I
please go
will
ahead.
be the brave one. I hope you can hear me. Just a
Yes.
simple question for Ange. Did you have a little kind of a risk to announce that story you sent me and that you mentioned before about the mining? Do you feel safe after publishing that story?
Well, thank you, Sacha. Thank you, Sacha, for your question. Well, still then, I haven't got any risk. By the way, I was with an NGO, a local NGO that have been acting on this sector since 1994. So they have 31 years of experience in that area and are really known. And it's under their coverage that I did that story. And they have all the law protections. They have all the legal documents to be on that site. And that's the reason, maybe that's the reason why still then I haven't got anything like what you said.
And just one short one, because I saw that no else is asking questions, but I'm very curious. This question is for Kingsley. What will be the major solution to improve the press freedom in Africa? I mean, I know it's huge and hard question, but can you just make some highlights about that? Thank you.
Okay. So if I got your question very well, you were asking what will be the major solutions to press freedom in Africa. Well, I think the first thing African journalists need to do is to come in a syndicate. I think syndicating themselves will help them build a stronger bond of journalists, like what we have right now, the International Connection of Journalists. This is a great platform. It's a great initiative to give journalists the power they need to be able to speak to government or to speak part to government and to other powers that be. So we have laws in Africa. Africa is not a fatal place, because listening to this, someone might think in Africa you can't report on anything. I mean, The story of Ange, I understand very well that she's not being pursued by anyone concerning that because she was reporting on facts, and many other stories in that manner are being done in Cameroon and in other parts of Africa. So there's some form of press freedom. Of course, we have cases of intimidation, we have cases of should I say, repression. But there's press freedom in Africa, by and large, and people can speak what the want. But sometimes we have journalists who have been arrested, sometimes journalists who have been tortured and stuff like that. So I think the first thing they want to do is to come in a syndicate and build a stronger platform for themselves where journalists can stand up for journalists. Look at the Reporters Sans Frontières and the Committee to Protect Journalists, movements like that. These are movements which have always come up when a journalist was ill-treated and have mounted pressure so much so that those journalists were released. We have in Cameroon cases of journalists working for Radio France Internationale, RFI, who were imprisoned for reporting on Boko Haram and stuff like that. I remember the case of Ahmed Abba, very famous case, and a couple of other Cameroonian journalists who were involved in that. Reporters Sans Frontières with RFI kept mounting pressure, and finally the guys were released. If we don't have such bodies that can really stand up for Africans and speak for them, because Reporters Sans Frontières and these other guys, Human Rights Watch and stuff like that, okay, Human Rights Watch is even for human rights. I mean, syndicates that are purely for journalists, like Reporters Sans Frontières, as it goes by the name, or Committee to Protect Journalists. If we don't have our own stuff, because these bodies are foreign, they will not always come up for us. I mean, and sometimes they might not have an impact. We need to create our own bodies in Africa, where we know these are African bodies and they are trying to do stuff. Cameroon has syndicates. We have organizations that speak up for journalists. But I think there's more we can do. So to make it a continental issue. And another thing, in the United States of America, Thomas Jefferson, he made a statement that was so amazing when it came to press freedom. He said he would rather choose press freedom over, I don't remember the speech very well, but we know Thomas Jefferson is one of the persons who really spearheaded the press freedom movement in the United States of America and ensured that, freedom of speech should be inscribed in their laws. We also need laws like that. Not that we do not have them, but they need to be enforced and they need to be respected. And I think basically that's going to make the press freedom to move. And one last suggestion: journalists have to be bold. Okay, if you have a story out there, it's true and it's worth telling. Sometimes you got to take the risk because in any way, if nobody speaks up, the freedom of press is not ensured. I finished with this quote. I watched it in a movie, The Post. The Post. It's about the scandal that took place in the United States in the 1970s, the Watergate scandal. I'm sure. So if you watch that movie, The Post, there's this scene where I've forgotten the actor's name. He says the only way to ensure the freedom of expression is to print. Because if you don't publish, the only way to ensure the freedom of publishing is to publish. That's what he said. So somebody has to speak up. So I think there should be boldness enough for people to speak up when they think a story is right. It has to be told, and that they have credible facts, not some rumors. Credible facts. Yeah.
Okay. If I can add something about that, can I go on? Okay. Well, when it comes to sustainability independence, I also want our media outlet to decline advertising. You'll notice that on my several websites, I don't advertise because it will bring some commercial pressures and risk of institutional or political threat for your information. So even if many outlets struggle with funding, it would be clever to limit the advertising partnership and build a long form of environmental reporting, diversified models, looking for niche green content, partnerships, many training to have a kind of vision that will align with the international, just as we are already in this intercontinental partnership with many other media, so that if in our country, Cameroon, we cannot publish, we have colleagues in another country that can contribute. I mean, that can publish what we wrote already. So that there is another solution to have an independent narratives that people around the world maybe will make a really high pressures so that the information coming from Cameroon is better authenticated by them. because they know that we locally can face some pressures. That's what I can say about that. Any other question?
Seems to be it for today. Ange, Kingsley, thank you very much for your participation today. Sasha and the ICJ, thank you for helping get this up and running and organized. And thank you everyone for joining us today. So this will close the panel for this month. We'll be organizing another one for near end of July, and we'll have this recording up online as well. So again, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Have a nice day to
Okay.
all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.